I'm going to show you how to build a subwoofer box at home very easily with little to no tools. The first thing you're going to do is go to the internet and go here and type subbox.pro. This is a free online tool that will allow you to design a subwoofer enclosure of your choosing. Then the next thing you're going to want to do is go to the manufacturer website of the woofer that you're going to want to put in that enclosure. Go down here to the specs. See, this one says a ported enclosure, 1.5 to 1 3/4, and these are the specs, the mounting depth, etc. After you enter all those parameters into where it says box and subwoofer and port, you will get the tuning, frequency, and everything that you want. You will then go down to the bottom, and these are all your cutouts. So we're going to take a picture of this, and let's go to Lowe's. And here we are. Grabbed us one of these boys right here. Some of the wood you want to avoid is stuff like this plywood here, this chipboard. It's just hard to kind of screw and work, and these edges, they cut, they flake. They get kind of nasty. You can see this one here, just by pushing on the middle, you get those layers to kind of separate. You really don't want that. You see stuff like this actual chipboard OSB type material, definitely don't buy this for subwoofer boxes. This stuff here is what you want. This is MDF, 3/4 inch. Many Lowe's stores have a saw like this to cut your wood here. So we've made our vertical cut. Now we're going to cut the strips. These 2 strips are going to make all the side pieces. All done, you can just load these all up in your car. These are your cut pieces, and the big ones are scrap pieces. You can have them cut in half or whatever you got to do to fit it in your car, because the whole point of this is being able to do this, you know, in the car. So this is your port pieces, left, right, front, back, top, bottom, all right there, all done at Lowe's. All right, so now we're back from Lowe's. We have our speaker box pieces right here. We'll get to those in a minute, but I wanted to go over some of the stuff that we got from the Walmart. Of course, we have sandpaper. Now this is for a sanding unit that they sell there, but you can just use these as well by hand. That's what I've been doing for a long time. I picked up some blades to go with the jigsaw that I have. This was $20 at Harbor Freight. These screws that we purchased, different sizes for some different things, 1 5/8, 2 inch. I bought the countersink. You'll see me use that. You don't have to use that. There's other ways you can use it. You can just use a bigger drill bit and a little drill bit. It doesn't matter. The glue that we have is this Gorilla Glue. It's my favorite, like I said. Then optional is polycryl. And a polycryl puts a thin layer of like plastic, like paint, that you can sand off, and it makes it to where you can paint the wood and without the wood showing the grain. So now we're going to get into the actual box and the shape and how it all come together after we cut them out at Lowe's. Okay, so I've taken the time to lay out on the bottom piece here all the port, where everything goes. And the reason why we do this all the way around is so we know where to drill the pre-holes. And what we're going to do is take the top and put it underneath of the bottom, just like so. I'm going to square them up. Easy peasy. Once they're square, we're going to run around and drill holes where all the boards are going to glue in about every 3-4 inches apart. Okay, so now that I've drilled the holes, I'm going to come back with that countersink bit that I had earlier, and I'm going to countersink all these holes. Now the top piece is done. You'll see the little dimples there drilled by the countersink. If you don't have a countersink bit, or if you don't want to buy one, you can use just a regular drill bit of a larger size, perhaps like a 3/8 inch diameter, and just drill down a little bit. Don't drill too far. But now, all these holes are marked out on the back side and on the top plate. They've all been started. So now all you have to do on the top plate is come around and drill them out with the pilot, and then go and countersink them. We'll grab a piece of scrap and lay it down so we can drill all of our holes all the way through. Okay, now we're going to flip it over and countersink the opposite side with this bit. That's all of our holes right there, top and bottom. Get rid of our scrap piece. As you go along, you'll have to drill holes in the side of the pieces that screw together. That's fine. You can do those before you assemble them. Alright, so now on the last pieces, I've marked these. We're going to drill these each. Put about 4 screws on each of these. That way we can attach them together. Okay, now I'm going to countersink these as well, making sure to be careful to do the correct side. Okay, so now we're going to break open our package of sandpaper. What we're going to want to do is sand down the back sides. When you drill through, it'll leave a little hump. That's what you're sanding off. These little humps when you drill through. We're going to start by gluing the back, and we're going to screw to the left and right side. So left side, back, and the right side. We'll actually put the drill bit in. We'll line these up like so. Make little pilot holes. Start our screws in like that. Glue. You line this up as best you can. This is what's going to make your box as square as possible. Now remember, the glue will hold it together and will seal the joint. So that is the back right side. We're going to now do the back left side. Now we're going to actually attach the bottom of the enclosure. So if you do like so, that's how it sits on the enclosure. We're going to flip this whole thing upside down. Now because these outside are not secure, you have to do the outside ones first to make sure they stay lined up. Now we're going to put on the baffle. Which goes here. Okay, so because we're doing this as anyone can do it in their garage build, I want to talk about this port. Most of the time you would just use a router and you would router this edge down smooth along with the one on the inside. But because most of you probably won't have access to a router, I just sanded this by hand using the sandpaper. Also, these holes on the side, we're gonna fill them in with this putty. This putty's like $4 or $5 at Walmart. We're just gonna fill in the holes right here, let it dry, and we're gonna sand that down before we put this in there. Okay, so I've let this sit up overnight when I put that spackling on there. We're gonna sand that off of there, and we're just gonna hit these corners a little bit more and try to make these as round as possible. Now we're gonna glue this port into the enclosure. You may want to take some glue, put it in all the seams. Even if you get glue all over the place, it's just going to dry up. It dries into a very thin brownish color, just like you see right here. That's just extra glue. It sands right off. Now we're going to bolt our top on. We're going to let this glue dry. We're also going to mark out where the hole is going to go in the baffle, and I'll show you how we make the hole. So to line out our hole, we're going to take a piece of scrap wood or anything straight. We're going to line it up in this one corner. We're going to come to the other corner, line it up, make a line. We're going to go to the opposite corner, line it up, come to this corner, make a line. X marks the spot. You can do a quick check with the tape measure. 7 1/4. 7 1/4. The side, it's totally up to you. Whatever you want to do with that. I'm at 9 here, and I'm at 8 1/2 here. So I'm going to show you one of the easiest ways to make a hole pattern at home that's super round. One of the easiest ways is to get a piece of cardboard. Your woofer, if you bought it brand new, will usually come with a small piece of cardboard like this, or you can cut one out. We're going to use this to make our circle template. Now normally I would use something like this. It's called a Jasper jig. But because we're doing this on a budget, we're doing this at our garage, and we don't have tools or time or anything else, we just want a good sounding box, we're going to use simple cardboard. In this case, our cutout diameter is 11.15 inches. So we're going to do 11 1/8. So we're going to make a mark somewhere over here. This mark is going to be where the screw goes. In this case, I need 5 17/32. Let's mark that out. We're going to run our pilot right down the middle. Then what we're going to do is put a screw right through that first hole we made, right into that hole. Just like so. Now our hole here that we made, there we go. Now we're going to check this. Should be 11 1/8. Wow, that's almost exactly 11 1/8. So now we're going to need to make our hole. We're going to use my jigsaw, this El Cheapo. This has that finer blade that we picked up last night from Walmart. Now this says metal on it, but trust me, the finer teeth is going to be just fine for cutting this MDF wood without making it chip. If you don't have something like this, it's a little impact. They do so much. You can put paddle bits on them. They work just fine. You can buy these kits. Come with regular drill bits. You can get the step bits that go inside of there. Anything that you can think of for a drill to do, this can also do. So we're going to make our hole for the pilot for the jigsaw using this little guy right here. Alright, now we're just going to cut the hole. Just line this guy up. Now you really want to pay attention, cut your line, cut it a little bit smaller if you got to, but I would leave this line behind. You want to be able to see this line just barely when you're done cutting. Look at that. You can see I left just the outer edge of my line. So you come back and you sand it down. Well, and there you have it. That's your harder parts cut. Everything's glued together, screwed together. The hole's made. Test your woofer, sand this down, make it all nice and smooth. Get everything where it just fits in there just nicely. You can get nut certs if you want to. You can get those from Lowe's, and bolts, or you can just use screws like everybody else. That's it. It's a 12-inch, 1.5 cubic foot, 37 hertz port enclosure. If this was about 35 hertz, this port would just be a little bit longer. That's all. So now that I've got all this done, I'm going to take the spacking, this putty, I'm going to go and fill all these holes in and let them sit there and dry for a couple hours. Come back, sand it all down just like the port. You have a nice, smooth finish.